Her childhood sweetheart returns before her wedding day? I never stopped loving you, cowboy. The sun was just beginning to rise over the small frontier town of Red Mesa, casting long orange shadows across the desert. The air smelled of dry earth and morning dew with a faint hint of fuel from the hover wagons parked along the dusty streets. Lila Hart stood on the wooden porch of her family's ranch, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face as she looked out over the fields where robotic ranch helpers were already moving cattle. Today was supposed to be perfect. Her wedding day was only a few weeks away, and Lila had spent months preparing for it. Her fiancé, Cole Matthews, a tall and steady man with a calm voice and kind eyes, had helped organize every detail. The ranch would be filled with friends and neighbors, glowing neon banners would hang above the main barn, and hover wagons would shuttle guests from town to the ceremony site. Everything was planned, and everything was expected to go smoothly. Lila smiled faintly to herself. She loved Cole, she really did. He was dependable, caring, and had always been there for her and her family. But as she turned her eyes to the horizon, a strange flutter ran through her chest. It was a feeling she hadn't felt in years, not since childhood. It was a mix of excitement and nervousness, and she couldn't quite place it. A sudden roar broke her thoughts. A hover wagon, unlike any she had ever seen before, was gliding over the desert road leading into town. Its chrome body shimmered in the sunlight, and it moved with a smoothness that made the standard town wagons look clunky and slow. The wagon stopped in the center of Red Mesa, and a small crowd began to gather around it. From inside, a figure stepped down. Lila froze, her heart skipping a beat. The man was tall, rugged, and confident, wearing a worn leather jacket over his space-ready armor. His boots kicked up dust as he approached. And then she saw him clearly. "Jack?" she whispered to herself. Jack Ryder. Her childhood sweetheart. The boy who had run alongside her in the desert sands, who had shared secret hideouts and dreams of adventure. The boy she had kissed under the stars, promising forever in whispered giggles. And now, after years apart, he was standing in front of her, older, stronger, more daring, but unmistakably the same Jack she had loved. Jack's eyes met hers immediately. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The desert winds, the chatter of the townspeople, the humming of the hover wagons, all faded into the background. He smiled, a slow, knowing smile that carried the weight of years spent apart. "I never stopped thinking about you," he said, his voice low but steady. Lila's chest tightened. She wanted to run to him, to hug him, and never let go, but she also remembered her promise to Cole. She took a step back, grounding herself on the wooden porch railing. "Jack, you're back," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. "After all these years?" Jack nodded. "Yeah. Been a long time, Lila. Too long." He glanced around at the small crowd, then back at her. "I didn't come here for a parade. I came for you." The words hit her harder than she expected. She swallowed quickly, trying to maintain her composure. "Jack, I'm getting married soon," she reminded him gently, though her heart thumped painfully in her chest. "I know," he said softly. "And I respect that. But I had to see you. I had to tell you. I never stopped loving you." Silence fell between them, filled only by the gentle hum of hover wagons and the soft rustle of the desert wind. Lila wanted to speak, to say something clever or decisive, but her mind felt blank. The years apart, the longing she had buried deep inside her heart, they all surfaced now, crashing into her with the force of a desert storm. Cole appeared then, walking toward the crowd. He had been overseeing the delivery of fresh banners for the wedding and noticed the gathering. "Lila, is everything okay?" he asked, his warm voice filled with concern. Lila looked at him, her heart twisting. She cared for Cole. She really did. But now she had to face something she had never expected. The past was here, standing before her, and it refused to stay buried. Jack turned slightly, giving Lila a respectful distance. "I'll wait," he said quietly. "I don't want to cause trouble." But trouble had already arrived in the form of memories and emotions Lila had long tried to ignore. She remembered running through the desert with Jack, laughing as their hoverboards kicked up clouds of red dust. She remembered their secret hiding place behind the old rock formations, where they shared their dreams of exploring distant planets and discovering alien ruins. She remembered the way he had looked at her when she first confessed her feelings, shy and hopeful. Now all those memories collided with her present reality. Cole's steady hand, his unwavering support, and the life they were building together contrasted sharply with the fiery, adventurous spirit Jack had always embodied. Lila felt torn between two worlds, the safe, known path and the uncertain, thrilling one that Jack represented. As she stood there, Trying to steady herself, she noticed the small crowd murmuring excitedly. The townspeople were curious, some whispering about Jack Ryder's reputation as an interplanetary cowboy, a traveler who had ventured to the farthest reaches of known space and returned with tales of alien encounters and daring adventures. Lila felt a mix of pride and anxiety. Jack had become a hero of sorts, yet here he was, standing in front of her, seeking something only she could give. Finally, she stepped down from the porch and approached him slowly. Every step felt heavy, yet filled with anticipation. Jack, I don't know what to say, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't have to say anything, Jack replied, his gaze gentle. Just let me be here. Let me see you one more time before everything changes. Lila nodded, feeling a tear slip down her cheek. She had tried to move on, to accept her future with Cole, but seeing Jack again brought back a flood of emotions she had thought were long buried. For the first time in years, she felt truly alive, like a part of her heart had been missing and had suddenly returned. They walked together toward the edge of the town, where the desert stretched endlessly, bathed in the soft glow of morning light. Jack talked about his travels, about distant planets with glowing skies and cities that floated above the clouds. He spoke of robotic ranches on faraway worlds, of alien creatures that were both frightening and beautiful, and of the adventures he had faced alone. Lila listened, enraptured, feeling a connection she hadn't realized she had missed so deeply. For a moment it felt as if they were children again, running through the desert with no responsibilities, no decisions to make, only each other and the wide-open world. But the reality of her life with Cole was never far from her mind, a gentle tug that reminded her that choices had consequences. As the morning sun climbed higher, casting golden light across the desert, Lila and Jack paused at the old rock formations that had once been their secret hideout. She touched the smooth surface of the stone, remembering their whispered promises. Jack stood beside her, his hand hovering near hers, as if unsure whether to reach out. Lila smiled faintly, a bittersweet expression. Of course I do. It was ours. Jack nodded, his eyes full of emotion. I never forgot it. Or you. Lila felt a lump in her throat. She wanted to stay here forever to relive the past and escape the pressures of the present, but she knew she couldn't. Her wedding, her family, her responsibilities, they all awaited her, and yet, in that brief moment, nothing else mattered except the man standing beside her, the memories they shared, and the unspoken promise that the heart sometimes remembers what the mind tries to forget. As they turned back toward town, Lila knew one thing for certain. Her life was about to change. The calm before the storm was over, and the winds of fate had begun to stir. Jack Ryder had returned, and with him the echoes of a love that had never truly ended. And deep down she knew she was ready to face whatever came next, even if it meant questioning everything she had believed about her future. The desert outside Red Mesa stretched endlessly, glowing golden under the morning sun. Lila and Jack rode quietly on their hover horses, the wind tugging at their hair and dust kicking up behind them. The town was small, but the secrets hidden in the desert were vast. Jack had brought her here for a reason, and though Lila was nervous, she couldn't deny the excitement that raced through her. This way, Jack said, pointing toward a narrow canyon carved into the red rocks. I want to show you something. Something I found years ago. Lila followed closely, her hover horse moving with smooth precision. Memories of childhood adventures came flooding back, the games they had played, the races they had run across these very rocks, the laughter that had once echoed through the desert. But now everything felt different. The canyon seemed larger, almost alive, as if it had been waiting for them. As they entered the canyon, the temperature dropped slightly. The walls of red rock rose high, casting shadows that danced in the morning light. Strange markings etched into the stone glimmered faintly, almost as if they had a soft inner glow. Lila paused, touching one of the carvings. It pulsed faintly under her fingertips. "What is this?" she asked, eyes wide with curiosity. Jack's face was serious. "This is part of an ancient alien artifact I discovered years ago on one of my travels. Nobody knows exactly what it does, but it has a strong energy signature. That's why I brought you here. I think it's starting to activate." Lila frowned. "Activate? What do you mean?" Jack gestured to a small hollow at the center of the canyon. A faint hum filled the air, vibrating in their chests. It's alive. It responds to emotion, to energy. I've seen it before, and I've never understood it fully. But now, I think it's waiting for something. Or someone. Lila felt a shiver run down her spine. The place was beautiful, but there was a strange tension in the air, a feeling of possibility and danger all at once. "And you brought me here because?" she asked quietly. "Because Jack said I wanted you to see it with me. I wanted you to remember that life is bigger than what we plan. That sometimes the universe has its own plans for us." They moved closer to the hollow, the hum growing louder. Hover horses snorted nervously, sensing the strange energy. Lila took a deep breath and stepped forward. The artifact was a smooth, metallic orb, half buried in the rock with faint glowing lines running across its surface. It pulsed like a heartbeat, and when Lila touched it, warmth spread through her hand. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Jack smiled faintly. "It's more than that. It can show glimpses of the future or the possibilities of the past. But it's dangerous if misused." Lila's curiosity overcame her caution. "What happens if we activate it?" Jack hesitated. "It could show us things we aren't ready to see, but sometimes to understand who we are, we need to face those visions." Lila nodded slowly. Her heart was pounding. Part of her wanted to turn back, to leave the past buried where it belonged. But another part, the part that had never forgotten Jack, urged her forward. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." Jack reached out, and together they touched the orb. A bright light enveloped them, and the canyon seemed to dissolve. Lila felt weightless, like she was floating through a dream. Visions flashed before her eyes, scenes of the desert, of the town, of herself and Jack as children, running and laughing. Then the images shifted, showing possible futures, her wedding with Cole, filled with warmth and comfort, and another where she and Jack rode across distant planets, exploring unknown worlds. Lila gasped. The choices were impossible. One life promised safety, love, and stability. The other promised adventure, excitement, and a love that had never faded. Her chest tightened as the weight of the decision pressed down on her. Jack squeezed her hand. "Whatever you feel, it's real. Don't ignore it. Your heart knows what it wants, even if your mind is confused." Lila looked at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. She remembered the boy who had promised to always be there for her, who had risked everything to chase adventure, and who had returned, unchanged by time, still holding her in his thoughts. The pull she felt was undeniable, strong enough to make her question everything she had planned. Suddenly, the orb pulsed violently, and the visions stopped. A strange humming filled the canyon, louder and more urgent. Lila and Jack stepped back, their hover horses whinnying nervously. "It's unstable," Jack said. "I didn't expect it to react like this. We need to stabilize it, or the energy could affect the town." Lila's eyes widened. "The town?" "Yes," Jack said quickly. "The energy from this artifact can interfere with hover wagons, communication systems, even the weather controls. If it goes unchecked, Red Mesa could be in trouble." Lila swallowed hard. Her wedding, the town, her family, all of it seemed fragile now, balanced on the edge of an unknown force. But alongside that fear was excitement. She had always loved challenges, and now she had one she couldn't ignore. "Then we fix it," she said, determination in her voice. Jack nodded, impressed.
"Good. We'll need to combine our skills."
"I can handle the artifact's energy, but I'll need your help to stabilize the readings." For hours they worked together, moving around the orb, adjusting small levers and pressing touch panels on Jack's portable scanner. Lila followed his instructions, learning quickly despite the complexity of the alien technology. She felt a thrill she hadn't experienced in years, the thrill of discovery, of teamwork, of being part of something bigger than herself. As the sun began to set, painting the canyon walls in shades of orange and pink, the artifact finally stabilized. The humming softened to a gentle pulse, and the glow of the lines became steady. Lila exhaled, relief washing over her. "We did it," she said softly, looking at Jack. "We did," he agreed, smiling. "And you were amazing. I knew you'd be able to handle it." For a moment, the world felt perfect. The desert was calm, the artifact quiet, and the air between them charged with unspoken words. Lila realized that, despite everything, she felt alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. With Jack, the world seemed full of possibilities. As they prepared to head back to town, Lila felt a gentle nudge in her chest, a reminder that choices were coming, and soon. She couldn't ignore her feelings forever. Her wedding, Cole, the life she had planned, it was all waiting for her. But now, she had seen what could be, what might have been, and the realization was both exhilarating and terrifying. Jack noticed her thoughtful expression. Lila, whatever happens, you have to follow your heart.
That's all I can ask.
She nodded, grateful for his understanding. But deep down, she knew the desert had already planted a seed of change. Her calm, predictable life was no longer guaranteed. Adventure had returned with Jack, and the future, like the canyon before them, was wide open, filled with both wonder and uncertainty. As they rode back toward Red Mesa, the twin moons began to rise, casting a silvery glow over the desert. Lila glanced at Jack, feeling a strange mix of fear and excitement. The past had returned, and with it the sparks of a love she had thought was gone forever. And for the first time in a long time, she realized that life was not just about following a plan. It was about embracing the unexpected, facing the unknown, and daring to see where the heart might lead, even if the path was uncertain. The town of Red Mesa awaited them, but so did the choices that could change everything. And Leela knew that whatever lay ahead, she would face it head-on, with Jack by her side, the desert wind in her hair, and the thrill of possibility in her heart. The night fell over Red Mesa like a velvet blanket, soft and quiet. The twin moons reflected off the desert sand, casting pale silver shadows that danced across the ranch. Lila sat on the edge of the barn roof, legs swinging slightly, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the desert stretched endlessly. Her heart was heavy, full of memories and choices she wasn't ready to make. Jack rode up on his hover horse, the soft hum of the engine blending with the desert wind. He dismounted, walking carefully to her side. "Thinking again?" he asked gently. Lila nodded, sighing. "I can't stop. Everything is changing so fast. The artifact, you coming back, even my feelings. I feel like I'm pulled in two directions at once." Jack sat beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth from his presence. "I know. I feel it too. But the important thing," he said, his voice steady, "is that you have to follow your heart. No one else can decide that for you." She looked down at him, eyes glistening. "But Cole, he's good, he's steady, and he loves me. I can't just throw that away." Jack smiled faintly, understanding. "You're not throwing anything away. You're just seeing what's possible. Sometimes the heart has to be tested before it knows the truth." For a moment, silence fell between them. The desert around them was calm, yet the air seemed charged with unspoken tension. Somewhere in the distance, the hum of hover wagons moving through the town reminded Lila of her responsibilities, her wedding, and the life she had promised to build with Cole. And yet, the pull she felt toward Jack was undeniable, stronger than anything she had experienced in years. "Maybe we should check on the artifact," Jack suggested finally. "I don't want it causing problems for the town." Leela nodded, standing. Together they mounted their hover horses and rode back to the canyon. The twin moons cast long shadows on the red rocks, and the artifact glowed softly, still pulsing like a heartbeat. It was calm now, but Lila remembered the intensity of its power earlier, how it had almost overwhelmed them. Jack knelt beside it, touching the smooth, metallic surface. "We need to make sure the energy doesn't spike again. I'll handle the technical adjustments, but I'll need you to monitor the surroundings. If anything, any robotic scavengers or town drones come near, you'll signal me immediately." Lila nodded, adrenaline sharpening her senses. Her hover horse shifted nervously beneath her, and she patted its neck to calm it. "I'm ready," she said. For the next several hours, they worked in perfect coordination. Jack adjusted the internal mechanisms of the artifact, while Lila kept watch over the canyon and the surrounding desert. Every hum and pulse from the orb made her heart race, reminding her of the strange energy that connected them both to the device and to each other. "Almost there," Jack muttered, adjusting a small panel. Sparks of blue light ran across the surface, and Lila felt the air vibrate. "Just a little more, okay? Stabilize it." A soft chime sounded, and the orb's glow became steady. The artifact's energy had calmed, its power now contained. Lila exhaled deeply, leaning against her hover horse. "We did it," she whispered, a smile breaking through her tense expression. Jack looked at her, pride shining in his eyes.
"We did."
"And you? You were amazing. I knew you could handle it." Lila felt warmth spread through her chest. For a moment, all the tension of the past weeks melted away, leaving only the two of them and the quiet desert night. She wanted to stay in this moment forever, free from decisions, free from the world, free to just exist with Jack. But reality was never far. Lila knew she had to return to town, to her family, to Cole, and to the life she had been planning for so long. She felt the weight of her responsibility pressing down, reminding her that choices had consequences. "Jack," she began, her voice hesitant, "what happens now? After this, after tonight?" Jack stood, brushing dust from his jacket. He looked down at her with a soft, serious expression. Now, you decide. I can't tell you what to do. I can't promise you a future or make your choices for you. All I can do is be here and support whatever you choose. Lila swallowed hard, her emotions swirling like the desert winds. She had loved Cole, and she still cared for him deeply, but Jack represented a life she had never truly forgotten, a life of adventure, of passion, of dreams that stretched beyond the stars. They rode back toward Red Mesa, the town lights glowing softly in the distance. The streets were quiet now, mostly empty, but Lila's mind was loud with questions. How could she choose between safety and excitement, comfort and love, stability and a chance to live fully? When they reached the ranch, Cole was waiting, standing near the hover wagons with a worried expression. "Lila," he said, relief washing over his face. "I saw the lights from the canyon. Are you okay?" Lila nodded quickly, forcing a calm smile. "We're fine, Cole. Just exploring the canyon, checking on something." Cole stepped closer, his gaze kind and understanding. "I trust you, Lila. I just want you to be safe." She looked at him, seeing the depth of his care and the patience in his eyes. Her chest tightened. Cole had always been steady, a rock she could rely on. He didn't demand her heart, he simply offered it unconditionally. And yet, the pull she felt toward Jack remained, stronger than any reason or promise. That night, as the town slept under the twin moons, Lila lay awake in her room, staring at the ceiling. Her thoughts were tangled. She remembered the way Jack had looked at her in the canyon, the excitement in his voice, the warmth of his hand. She remembered the calm steadiness of Cole, his gentle words, his unwavering support. The choice wasn't simple. It had never been simple, but one thing was clear. Her heart had awakened, and it refused to be ignored. The next day, the town buzzed with preparations for her upcoming wedding. Lila moved through her duties with a polite smile, but her mind wandered constantly. Every glance toward the horizon reminded her of the desert canyon, of the artifact, of Jack. And every moment she spent with Cole reminded her of the life she had promised to build, the love that was steady and true. By evening, she couldn't take it anymore. She found herself riding again, this time alone, to the old canyon. The desert was quiet, the wind soft against her face. The artifact pulsed gently in the distance, its energy steady as if waiting for her. Jack appeared suddenly, riding from the shadows. "You came?" he said, surprised but smiling. "I needed to think," Lila said, stopping her hover horse a few feet away. "I needed to see what I really feel." Jack dismounted, walking toward her. "And?" he asked softly. Lila took a deep breath, looking into the silver light of the twin moons. "I don't know yet," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "But I know that seeing you again, it reminds me of who I am, of what I've always wanted. And that scares me. Because I have a life waiting for me, and I don't want to hurt anyone." Jack nodded, understanding. "I know, you have responsibilities. But sometimes the heart knows what it wants, even when the mind doesn't. I can wait. I'll wait as long as I need to, because what we have, it's real." Lila's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of the overwhelming emotion she had been holding inside. I need time," she whispered. "And you'll take it," Jack replied. "No rush, no pressure, just honesty. That's all I ask." For the first time in weeks, Lila felt a strange peace. The future was uncertain, and choices still loomed ahead, but she had clarity in one thing. She could no longer ignore the pull of her heart. Whatever decision she made, she would face it with courage, knowing that life was too short to ignore what truly mattered. The twin moons shone brightly over the canyon, illuminating the desert like a silver sea. Lila and Jack sat together, their hover horses resting nearby, and watched the stars appear one by one. The night was calm, but Lila knew that the storm of decisions, emotions, and possibilities was coming, and when it arrived, she would meet it with an open heart, ready for whatever the future held. The desert whispered around them, carrying the scent of adventure, the promise of choices, and the quiet, persistent pull of love that had never faded. And in that moment, Lila realized that no matter what path she chose, the heart's voice was impossible to ignore. The morning of Lila's wedding dawned bright and clear, with the twin moons fading into a soft early light. Red Mesa was buzzing quietly, banners fluttering in the gentle breeze and hover wagons lining the main street. Friends and neighbors had arrived from surrounding towns, curious to witness the union of two families, and Lila's family ranch glowed with a mix of tradition and frontier innovation. Lila stood in her room, brushing her hair, her mind a swirl of thoughts and emotions. Today was supposed to be a day of celebration, a day of joy, yet all she could think of was the desert canyon, the artifact, and Jack Ryder, the boy who had never stopped holding a place in her heart. She sighed, trying to steady herself. Today she would have to make a choice, one that would change everything. Downstairs, Cole Matthews was helping the ranch hands with the final preparations. His calm demeanor, steady hands, and quiet confidence were reassuring to all around him. He had always been Lila's rock, the one who had stood by her through every challenge. Yet he too felt a quiet tension in the air, knowing that the past had returned in the form of Jack. Jack arrived at the ranch just as the guests began to gather. He approached quietly, his hover horse gliding across the sandy path. Lila saw him immediately and felt her heart leap. He looked at her, not with demand or expectation, but with patient understanding. His eyes said everything. I am here, but I will not force your heart. Good morning, Lila, he said softly. Good morning, Jack, she replied, her voice calm yet tinged with emotion. I need to speak with you before everything begins. He nodded. Of course. They moved to the edge of the ranch, where the morning sun cast long shadows over the fields. Lila took a deep breath, steadying her nerves. Jack, I've thought about everything. The canyon, the artifact, the choices we've faced, and I realized something important. I can't ignore my heart. And my heart, it has never stopped remembering you. Jack's expression softened, and a quiet smile appeared. I never doubted it, he said simply. Lila swallowed, tears welling in her eyes. But I also understand responsibility. Cole, he's been nothing but kind and patient. He doesn't deserve to be hurt. And I don't want to cause pain. I know now that I can't marry without being completely honest with myself and with him. Jack reached for her hand, gently. Then you're making the right choice for you, Lila, and whatever happens, I'm proud of you for facing it. As the wedding hour approached, Lila walked to Cole, who was waiting by the decorated barn entrance. She looked into his kind, steady eyes and spoke with gentle honesty. Cole, I need to tell you something before we proceed. My heart, it belongs elsewhere. I can't marry without being fully honest. And I realize now that my love has never left Jack. Cole's face remained calm, though a flicker of pain crossed his features. Then he smiled softly, placing a hand on hers. Lila, I love you, and I respect your honesty. If your heart belongs to Jack, then I can't stand in the way. True love isn't about possession. It's about seeing someone's happiness, even if it's not with you. Tears filled Lila's eyes as relief and gratitude washed over her. Cole stepped back gracefully, letting go without resentment, showing the depth of his character and the quiet strength that had always drawn her to him. Jack approached then, stepping forward with a mixture of hope and patience. Are you ready? He asked, his voice soft but full of emotion. Lila nodded, stepping into his side. Yes. I'm ready to face the future, whatever it may hold. With you. The townspeople watched silently as the two childhood sweethearts reunited in a quiet moment of connection. There were no dramatic declarations or grand gestures, just a simple understanding, a meeting of hearts that had always belonged together. Together, Lila and Jack mounted their hover horses. The desert stretched before them like an endless sea of possibilities. The townspeople cheered softly as the pair rode through the gates of the ranch, not with haste but with steady purpose, embracing the life that awaited them beyond the familiar horizon. The wind tugged at their hair, carrying the scent of desert flowers and dry earth. Lila looked at Jack, her hand finding his, feeling the warmth and comfort that came from being truly understood. It feels like coming home, she said quietly. Jack nodded. It's more than that. It's a chance to live fully, to explore, to dream, to face life together. The desert, once quiet and still, now seemed alive with possibility. Hover wagons glided in the distance, robotic ranch helpers moved with precision, and the twin moons cast silver light over the horizon. Lila realized that her life would no longer be defined by routine or expectation. With Jack by her side, adventure awaited in every moment, whether in the desert of Red Mesa or on distant planets far beyond. They rode together, hearts aligned, moving toward a future they would shape with their own hands. The past had returned, bringing choices and clarity. The present was alive with emotion and connection, and the future was open, vast, and full of promise. Hours passed as they traveled across the desert, their hover horses kicking up red dust beneath twin moons that now hung low in the sky. Lila and Jack shared stories, laughter, and quiet moments of understanding. Every glance, every word, strengthened the bond that had never faded, even across years and distance. They arrived at the edge of a high plateau overlooking a canyon carved by centuries of wind and sand. The desert below shimmered in the soft moonlight, and the artifact they had stabilized earlier glowed faintly in the distance, a reminder of the adventures they had shared and the challenges they had faced. "Do you remember the first time we came here?" Jack asked, his voice nostalgic. Lila smiled, eyes shining. "How could I forget? We thought we were the rulers of the world, racing our horses and making up stories of distant planets." Jack laughed softly. "Some things never change. Except now, we're not just dreaming. We're living it." Lila felt the truth of his words in her chest. Life had a way of testing people, of forcing them to choose between safety and adventure, comfort and passion. She had faced those tests and made a choice, not because it was easy, but because it was honest, because it was hers. The two of them sat on the plateau, looking out over the desert, hands entwined. The twin moons cast long shadows, and the desert wind whispered softly around them. It spoke of journeys yet to come, of planets to explore, of adventures that awaited beyond the horizon. "I'm ready," Lila said quietly. Jack smiled, leaning close. "Then let's go. Together." With that, they mounted their hover horses and rode into the open desert. The town of Red Mesa disappeared behind them, a place of memories and lessons learned. Ahead lay a world full of possibilities. Alien landscapes, distant cities, and adventures that would challenge them, teach them, and unite them even further. The stars above twinkled like distant beacons, guiding them forward. The artifact had reminded them of choices and consequences, but now, with hearts aligned, Lila and Jack were free to face the universe together, and as they rode under the twin moons, Lila realized something she had always known deep down. Love, true love, was worth every risk, every choice, every step into the unknown. The desert stretched endlessly before them, but for the first time, Lila felt at home. Not in a place, but in a person. Not in a plan, but in a heart that had never stopped waiting. And as the wind carried their laughter across the sands, the adventure of a lifetime had only just begun. The horizon shimmered with promise, the twin moons reflected in their eyes, and the world, vast, mysterious, and full of wonder, lay open before them. The heart had chosen, and the universe was theirs.